Yeah, good morning. Welcome back. Okay, this is the final episode, number 7. Wow, I didn't really think there was going to be 7 episodes completing this project, but it's pretty much done after this episode, of course. At the end of the day, man, I am stoked as. Really pleased with how all of this has turned out. The whole rebuild included a raised new floor. A floor area provided me an area for a lot less clutter. Provide space underfloor for a second fuel tank. So what were some of the other challenges? Well, everything had to be pulled apart, including the wiring. I wanted a new storage area for the primary or the running fuel tank and the battery as well. Getting the steering right, it took a little bit of doing, but we got there. Of course, in this episode, we're going to have to install the shift and throttle cable, which presented some challenges because I actually did think they were a little bit long. There was a lot of mucking around with rerouting the wiring, tidying things up, and actually extending some of the wiring for the GPS and fish finder units. So then I had to tidy up the fuel supply, really tidy up the existing wiring to the power supply, basically from the engine to the battery. Good morning. Well, so I've got to get some new connections happening. I shortened this particular cable, by about 900 mil. So I've got the base for where the battery sits. These connections are strong, they're good, they're solid. So, yep, that's another job down. The battery compartment is in. I've left, as you can see, space between the back of the hull and the back of the board. Very specifically for a reason, because there's going to be a fuel tank. Under here, right there. And I don't want the fumes to accumulate. The fumes from the fuel tank, from the breather, you need to be able to let them out. There is a battery not far away. I mean, we don't expect any sparks or anything like that, but this is how fires in big boats start. When the bilges aren't cleared, the blowers aren't working, when if there's a fuel leak, and a small spark, from an ignition point will just. So I've put the isolator switch right there. It'll be behind my seat. Yep, still a bit more wood cutting to do, a little bit more varnishing. I'm going to probably try and use a bit of stuff from this old floor. Yep, as I just said to the boss, we're heading towards the finish line, so I'm just I'll just show you a couple of things. So the base for the fuel tank in the back, that's been installed. The battery housing over there. So the panel for the wiring to come through. Yep, so that's the battery compartment here. I did put a bit of a strap on it like that. So that's the base for the tank, and the lid is still in the process of being finalized. So I put some rod holders here. So this is a breather for when the fuel tank goes in here. So as you can see, I've sort of tidied everything up. There's a slot there for rod tips to go in. Yeah, a lot of mucking around, that's for sure, but no, I'm really happy with it. Okay, so the fuel tank compartment is finished as well. I'll just show you. Yep. And as you can see, I've left a very generous gap on the back here for any fumes to escape. We're sort of at the pointy end of the stick now because I've really got to install these, you know. And to me it looks like they're too long. But the only way I'm going to find out is to actually put one in and see where I can sort of lose the excess. Yeah, it's a curly one anyway. Theoretically, you know, it's the length that I needed. Anyway, we'll see. Okay, so we've got the sounder and the sounder GPS combo installed. So tomorrow we'll do the control box and just finish hooking up the wiring and should be ready to go. I can't remember what day it is. I think I've been at this for a couple of weeks now, yeah, we're getting towards the finish line, thankfully. Alright, so here we have the control box. Book of words, RTFM. Read the fucking manual, which I have. So I've taken the cover off, and I think this bit of wiring I may have to actually take that bit of cable tie off and reroute this better, because it looks like it's going to be in the way of the cables. So these are all the little bits and pieces in the plastic bags. This is a spacer for between the gunnel, I guess, and the control box. Yes, so there's always you know, a couple of things to contemplate, of course, because nothing's ever straightforward. On the side of the gunnel she goes, and I suppose really that's about this, where it's going to have to go, about there, like that. That's not a bad height, I reckon. Yeah. So I have worked out how this goes together here, and of course, yeah, I forgot this little device over here. It's very important, so I'll have to just take it apart and try to not lose the retaining pins. And of course I lost the retaining clip. It's behind there somewhere, I can see it. Yep. Little trick, I'm going to put some grease on this and see if we can yeah, pick that up. It's Monday morning, it has to be. Yeah. Yeah, got it. Buggers are things they are. So what am I doing here? I'm doing someone else's job. Whose job was it? Manufacturer. And whose fault is it that I bought this? Me. It's called Vivor. I'm hoping to not get bitten by the electricals, because basically these cables, the throttle and the shift cable, they don't quite fit in there, because it's just I think I'd have to use a hammer and chisel to hammer it down. So I'm going to have to file that down in order for those slots to be compatible with the retaining diameter on the cable. The moment of truth. Right, Battery isolator is switched on, or off actually. Yes. And power trim and tilt from there. Whew. Yeah, so the mess over here is, all the conduit and stuff like that. So just waiting for the soldering iron to warm up and make up some new connections. Oops. Alright, I'm happy with those joints, so we'll cover them up and get all connected. Yeah, so once the bilge pump is connected, and all that's tidied up, that wiring sort of tidied up, I'm sort of nearly there with that. I can put the seat in, and we'll connect the hose up, start her up, and see how the gear shift goes, if that engages as it's supposed to. Yeah, and then might be able to take it for a test run tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be awesome. So it's taken me about 2 weeks, plus a couple of trips to the Big Smoke to to get a number of things that you can't get locally. So there's the new motor guide, and I'll just pan the camera on the floor. You can see there's tons of casting space, and under there is the auxiliary fuel tank. Lots of room between the gunnel and the actual console. Yeah, really pleased, how all of this has turned out, because it's not only a casting platform, but it also serves as neatly storing, putting away those items that you would normally trip over, like your battery, fuel tank, things like that. And the helm position is great, and the control box location is quite ideal, because I'm able to stand up and control the boat. There's enough room so I don't have to squeeze in between the console and the actual seat. Rod holders there, fire extinguisher, battery isolator, and of course battery itself. And everything is nice and strong. That's about as tidy as I can get that. Bimini, well, we've opted to try and give it a bit more of a permanent installation. See how that works. Next episode we hope to be out on the water. Thanks for watching. See you soon.